UFLL is doing the right thing for once.
A man with a good soul will not be denied.
Hello and welcome back to Frank's Penance. Right now it's the middle of the night and Frank is in Parlour. I'm about to visit the APR headquarters. Now the APR are the faction that Frank has mostly been antagonising through his work with the UFLL. The APR are a faction that has come into South Mali from the neighbouring Burkina Faso, so it isn't actually native to this area, but they wish to control as much as they can of the area because they already have such a stronghold in their own nation. They can free up resources to come and capture this area. Apparently the UFLL are a communist dictatorship, according to that poster. Now we can hear some of the officials upstairs. Let's see what they're talking about.
What kind of name is that? That's crazy. He practically gave his things away. Why did it sell them so cheap? They were cheap for the UFLL too. Guy could have made way more money if he wanted to. This is the APR, greatest faction in the land. You're lucky to be here with us, better than with those old ladies in the United Front. You want a job? We got one. It's good. Assassination. Chief of police. Bam. Kepo. Tell him where to find this man.
He's riding in a motorcade. It's a moving target. You'll have to pick a spot on the road and wait for him to come to you.
That little Penance will be in a great big SUV.
Ambush the motorcade and kill the cop and make it messy. We need you to send the message.
I've got a good feeling about this. How about we pay you right now for the work, hmm?
Ambush the motorcade, kill the police jeep, and the job is complete. Nobody else in APR knows about this. Other soldiers won't be friendly. Keep your head down.
So for reasons they just haven't stated, they want me to take out the chief of police who's riding in a motorcade. An interesting mission. I can't really tell whether it's a good or bad idea at this stage, so for now I'm going to go along with it and just see what I learn on the way. So I need to head back out, reclaim my weapons, and I expect Flora is going to call me any second with a better idea. The motorcade itself is quite far away and mobile, so it's going to be a little bit hard to find.
Come meet me north of the cattle market. I have news that can help you.
So Flora has some news that can help me. How she has news that can help me, I don't know, because she can't possibly know what I'm trying to do. But still, let's go and visit her. She is a short distance upriver. So let's get to the boats and go and see what she has to say. First, Pat asked me if I would join the IRA again if I got home. I told him no, only with a few more profanities. He didn't seem to believe me though and pressed for a true answer. In the end I had to admit the truth, that I didn't know if I would rejoin. The two reasons I was living were to fulfill the goals of the IRA and to destroy it, so I couldn't give him an answer, but this indecisiveness seemed to be what he was looking for, as he moved on to ask me why else I wanted to go home. I didn't want to tell him, but weeks of boredom had stewed the answer to that question in my head for so long, I was welcoming a chance to pour it all out. The answer was that I wanted to see my family again. I felt surprised hearing myself say it, like I was hearing a different person. But that, when it came down to it, was the root cause of all the frustration, and suddenly this old man had got to the root of it without me even knowing. Next, he offered me the solution. He told me he could get me into an informant program with the British police working against the IRA. If he could convince the authorities to take me, I would be out of there in 2 weeks. He said that if my grudge towards the IRA looks genuine, I would be allowed out for sure. Now you might think this meant I was happy, a chance to get out of prison, right? Well, it was exactly the kind of chance I wasn't willing to take. The problem was that I was still mad at the system for putting me in here, and felt like if there was a chance I would be helping that system, I shouldn't take it. So I've made it to the safe house where Flora is hanging out. Let's head inside and see what she has to say for herself.
Don't bother chasing after the Federales motorcade. There's a better way to get the job done. There's a fishing village downriver. The policeman's brother lives there. You should pay him a visit. He's hiding a ledger. It lists all the bribes the constable's taken from APR over the years. When Kefe finds out you've got the book, he'll run back to his police station like a little boy and try to hide. He won't be a moving target anymore. Much easier to kill. I hear the deputy hates his boss. When he finds out about the APR bribes, I figure he'll hand over all the police weapons to the UFLL, just to make a point. That's when I'm going to ambush their convoy and wreck those weapons. If you help me out, you can have anything that's left.
So Flora has an interesting plan. We're going to lure the police chief to a stationary location by stealing this ledger full of incriminating information from his brother. And then Flora plans to destroy all of the police's weapons when his deputy wants to try and hand them over to the UFLL to get back at the APR. So, an interesting and somewhat complicated plan. So the first stage is to head to this fishing village that was mentioned and attempt to find this ledger. But that wasn't the kind of thing I would say to Pat. In the moment, I passively disagreed to his plan for now, partially just to get him to leave so I could think about it all. The issue with the world was that loyalty seemed to mean nothing, and now I was being offered the sweet end of the deal I so hated. I'd betray a few IRA sales, earn myself freedom, and probably a boatload of money. The idea reminded me of Fergal, meaning I spent the next hour in a fit of rage. Fergal was no informant though. He didn't betray me because he was with the enemy. He betrayed me because he had to do it to survive, and ultimately his loyalty to his cause was worn out after years of action. But of course my view back then was that he was worse than an informant, that he wasn't helping any cause at all. Taking a view like that was a sign I was already trying to justify taking the informant deal in my head. I was always going to accept it, but it took a few months before I'd find ways to feel okay with myself for doing it, especially as the hope of leaving made prison seem all the more unbearable. In the end, Pat's pep talk about lower expectations did allow me to open up a little. I stopped being so hostile and elusive, and even got to speaking with some of the other prisoners. I started to tell people about what had happened to me, with all the actions exaggerated of course, and this made them take interest. A cold-blooded teenager with a vendetta was actually a pretty hardcore image, and it certainly did me right. Likewise, I got plenty of stories from the other guys, fraudsters, loan sharks, thieves. None of the denizens of the casual wing could match my rep sheet. I guess they knew it as they spent a lot of time trying to overstate the complexity of their criminal business, showering me with advice to make sure they seemed senior to me. Many even tried to co-opt me into joining their operations once we were all out, which made me very happy, not because of the actual opportunity, but because the fact they were offering this to me seemed to be a sign of friendship, especially because they knew that me getting out wasn't likely. So I've now reached the area nearby the fishing village. There are a few raised platforms nearby, suggesting that there are some routes that guards might be taking, so I want to be quite careful in making my approach. I can see that the building directly ahead of me contains the brother of the police chief. I can already see there's a few guys guarding it. There's at least one sniper walking about on the upper balcony there. So on the map I can see there is a land approach I can use, moving southwest, or I can try and swim my way over there. First I'm going to use my silent sniper rifle to attempt to take out a few of the guards without them knowing where I am. I only have 4 shots, so I have to be quite careful to make sure I actually hit people with them and don't waste them. So I take out 2 guys on the ground. I see more guys running around, so they know something's going on. The sniper comes into view. He's running too fast for me to take a shot at first, but then when he ducks down to hide, I take him out. So removing that sniper is going to be very useful, because he's probably the most likely person to see me during my approach. More guys running about, but too fast for me to risk taking a shot. I notice some of them appear to be running towards the side of the lake where I actually am. I'm starting to think they might have guessed what direction the shots are coming from based on who was getting killed. I see the guys approaching through a set of buildings just down the shore there. I was going to move towards them, but then I spot a guy coming right up next to me. I annihilate him with my silenced pistol. 2 more guys run up. Luckily, because my pistol was silenced, they don't know I'm up here until I've already started shooting them, so I take them out. So I've quickly dispatched those 3 extra guards. But now I think they definitely know where I am, so I decide I need to go loud. At the same time, I start suffering from a malaria attack, so I'm going to take one of the pills that the underground refugees have given me. So that will stop the effects for now. I just need to wait for the screen to go back to normal. Now I can try and look for these enemies. I can barely see them. I can just see movements in the bushes in the distance. I'm firing somewhat inaccurately, and I'm managing to hit at least one of them there. I don't know how many more there are. I see another head popping around the corner there. I can't really hit him. A guy appears from the right. I can't really see him, but he is managing to hit me. The AI, unfortunately, can see through this undergrowth once you are officially exposed, so it doesn't actually provide any cover, but it does provide cover for them, so I'm at a slight disadvantage trying to fire through all these plants. Well, I think I got him anyway. I'm starting to run low on ammunition, so it'd be quite good if there weren't many more. One more guy comes up. He's firing a shotgun very inaccurately. Managed to get a slight hit on me, but nothing too bad. So I think I've actually cleared out the area, which is quite good because I almost ran out of ammo. I do have an upgrade that gives me an extra magazine of capacity of ammo, which if I didn't have, it would have almost completely run out just then. Now, as I start advancing along the shore, I spot someone in the distance, and I'm going to use my last silent dart to take him out. So there are probably even more guys. If that guy who was so close didn't respond to that gunfight, I expect there are more guys hanging around in these buildings, so I want to be somewhat careful as I advance up. Stealing the ammo off the guy I just killed brings me back up to full, so I'm ready for another gunfight if there are enough guards to make one. This building appears to be fairly empty. I'm going to use my health threat there just because I saw another one on the side, so I might as well use it up. So these areas look fairly clear. I need to start moving across some of these walkways to get to the building in the middle. I have no idea whether this guy I'm looking for is going to have more guards inside the building with him. On the way I spot this ammo dump, so I'm going to take this ammo. That will refill the ammo for my silent rifle, so if I do need to go stealthy again, I am now okay. So I'm going to move across. I think I need to go somewhere on my right here, but before I get too close I can see guys in the distance walking around, so there are definitely more guys in the area. I spot a guy fairly close. I decide he's possibly close enough to kill with my silenced pistol. I managed to kill him, but not before he screams out, so I think the enemy probably knows something's going on over here. I spot that guy in the distance running towards me, but I'm going to quickly dispatch you with my rifle. So there could still be more enemies, but I'm going to risk just walking across in the open here and going inside the building. I know the target's in there somewhere, probably upstairs. Inside looks fairly clear for now. It's quite dark. I don't want to be caught unawares by people hiding in the corners. It appears they've been hunting someone or other based on the pictures they have on their little notice board. I find the stairs still. The area is clear, so I'm going to head on up. See if there's anyone up here who wishes to challenge me. It looks fairly clear again. There's more supplies up here, which is quite handy. And then finally, I encounter the guy I'm looking for.
What do you want? Ow! Stop! You thief! Criminal! It's there. Just take the damn thing. I'm sorry I ever agreed to keep it. Now leave my family in peace.
So this guy pretty much knew what I was here for, and the ledger wasn't too hard to find after that. So I've got the ledger, and now I need to go and kill this police chief who hopefully will have gone back to his base to hide against the upcoming allegations that he surely knows are about to come to him. The brother doesn't seem too happy. I decided not to kill him. I could have, of course. It doesn't seem like I really need
The chief
to.
got the message about the ledger. He's heading back to his post right now.
So Flora confirms the police chief is going to be at his post. I don't know where that is, so I'm going to look it up on the map. It's actually quite far away, but rather accessible by the rivers, which is quite preferable to going by road because there are far fewer checkpoints to deal with on the rivers, although the rivers on the west side of South Mali are quite heavily fortified. So I'm going to try and make my way back to my boat, and then we'll go over to the police chief's base over on the west side of South Mali and see if we can take him out without too much trouble. So, just like how I became a true Republican soldier after meeting the IRA, I was now becoming a paragon of criminality due to my new pseudo-family. A life of crime seems so easy, and there were always like-minded people willing to do anything to take their share of the system's bounty. I even started planning out how I would get rich and get away with it on the outside, if my sentence really did turn out only to be a few years. Still, there was something that made me uncomfortable about the whole idea. I think it was that the supposedly die-hard criminals in the maze had something pitiful about them. I was left wondering whether all they wanted was a chance to forget the past and start again, like myself. The older guys especially had a depressed air about them, speaking of regret more than success. These clues kept me from fully siding with the jolly offers of a life of crime from my new mates. One thing I often thought and spoke about at the time was the idea of starting afresh by simply travelling to some far-flung place where your past was unknown. It seemed like such an easy solution to my young mind that I was surprised people weren't doing this all the time, although I was still daunted by the idea of doing it myself, probably because there was still something in Ireland begging me to stay. And no, I didn't realise it was probably the same for everyone else, as I considered my plight to be particularly special, of course. My lack of faith in criminality was compounded by Pat. I guess he was doing his job then. Basically, I would ask him to describe the various people he had known coming through this prison. There were plenty of stories he told which, for whatever reason, I assumed to be true without a doubt, that suggested to me that being a criminal was a test of your luck. The difference between things going really well and really shittily was small enough that most people don't notice it, and hence end up in this glorified holding pen. Hearing stories about how stupidly half the guys ended up getting caught made me feel a little better about my last stand, and I was already feeling better than usual now that I'd managed to get a foothold in the prison community. But that didn't stop me from saying yes when Pat brought up the idea of being an informant a second time. I'd taken my fill of that weird life on the inside and was ready for anything that meant not being there. I didn't care that I was helping the system anymore, I was just focused on helping myself. All the practicalities of planning for a life of crime had ground down my principles. Plus, I was getting older quickly, learning to forget the shackles of caring about the fate of the world, just like Pat had taught me. The first stage to my systematic escape was a visit from a police officer. The last time I'd seen that uniform, I was about to murder someone. The guy sat me down in my cell and asked me a few basic questions, then to recount my whole life story up to now in detail. I was taken aback, but I had plenty to say since I had been going over that story in my head every night for the last 10 months. Of course, what I told him was very different to what I've told you. In that cell, I painted a tragic tale of a boy who had all his terrible choices made for him and hated every second of it. I made sure to explain how much I'd really hated the IRA all along and how Fergal had press-ganged me into helping him by threatening my family. The officer listened with a straight face, but when I'd finished he was quick to tell me he thought I was a convincing liar. No idea if he was joking, but I guess really I was convincing enough because he didn't walk out of there and then. Pat then emerged from the corridor outside and started to vouch for my story. I had no idea why he did that. I later assumed it was his way of begging the officer to get me out, so he earned more of my sparse gratitude. Pat even said that I was no longer a danger to society and that my sentence was no longer a proper use of prison resources. The officer struck a smirk, but I just stared at the ground and tried not to be embarrassed that this guy was telling such awkward lies on my behalf. The officer thanked me for my time and left without actually saying what the result of all that was. Pat seemed as surprised as I was by all this and went off to try and pin the officer down. He came back later to tell me the officer was willing to let me join their program, but not yet. He was going to get me a placement in a few months' time, so for now I was still stuck in that cell. So I'm now very close to this police station, just exiting this safe house I found, which is right around the corner from where the police station is located on my map. I'm going to try and get over there without actually using the road routes in to see if I can use some of the sleeping darts I've collected on my way to take out some of the guards silently before I actually go and find this guy I'm trying to kill. He may just be standing out in the open for all I know, and I can kill him right away. I can see a couple of buildings up ahead, one or two guys as well. I need to get over there somehow, but the path that I'm on seems to disappear out. There's a guy on top of the hill there. You can just about see that he has a rocket launcher. I'm going to take him out now as my first move in approaching the police station. So now I'm not going to get blasted suddenly from this guy who's got a nice overlooking position over all the buildings down below. Now that I'm closer, I can see on my map that the target is inside one of the buildings, which means I'm going to have to get in close and actually go inside in order to complete this part of the mission. So I probably am going to have to neutralise some guards to make sure I don't get seen while I do that. So I'm trying to creep up a little bit closer, and I've got a better view. I can see more guards outside the buildings, at least 3 there, just in that little bit. There could even be guys inside. I think the building I just looked at is the building containing my target. So it's interesting to know I need to basically run across this open area and get into that building. The other option was to try and get around behind it somehow. I need to go further up and check out what the situation behind the building is. So I'm going to run up to where that guy with the rocket launcher just was on this little overlook and use it to spy on the enemy. The rocket launcher's there. I considered taking it, but I realised that the silent approach for now is going to be more productive for me, so I want to keep my rifle because the rocket launcher would have replaced it. So I move close. I'm immediately seen, not actually by the guys down there, but by a sniper on a tower that I hadn't noticed. So when the sniper fires, everyone's alerted to my position, and now they know something is going down. I'm in a bit of trouble. I'm still using my ranged advantage to attempt to take out these enemies before they get close. I can see a guy right in the distance there, but I decide not to fire because it would be a waste of ammo in this case. I've only got 2 shots left. I don't want to kill the guy in the distance who actually doesn't seem to be reacting to my presence or even know I'm here. The guys running around down here are slightly difficult targets because they're all moving, but they are also moving towards me, so I want to try and take them out. Now one guy is somewhere close to me, I can't quite see. He's right there, he threw a grenade. I have to sprint forward just to dodge the grenade. I sprint back to where I was because I'm very exposed down there on the hillside. I'm pretty much out of ammo for my dart rifle now, so I decide I am going to pick up this rocket launcher. As soon as I do, I see someone sprinting at me. I'm forced to fire and I take him out with a massive overkill explosion. Now I'm going to try and sneak around the back of the building, but I realise that since I have this rocket launcher, I can fire it through the open door and potentially take out the target in as least silent way as possible. I see 2 guys coming down from those buildings in the distance and fire some shots to suppress them, and I think I take them down. I shoot a rocket in through the door, but it doesn't complete the mission, which means it didn't kill the guy, so I guess he's not standing close enough to the door for me to actually do that. Instead, I'm going to sneak around behind these buildings. I can hear the voices of the guys looking for me, so I know they're quite close. I'm going to take this moment where I'm hidden to reload all my weapons. I peek out. I don't see anyone for now, so I'm going to sneak across into this building. Some guy sprints out from behind the building. He doesn't see me though critically, so I'm going to use my silenced pistol to take him down so that I don't completely reveal my position. So now I'm ready to sneak inside. At first I don't see anything. Lots of UFLL posters, curiously. And then I find the guy in this little prison area.
You and your weakness. I am your boss and you will do what I say, or I will bring shame on you and your...
Where'd he go?
What do you have right to come here?
Quick! He was just over there!
So I have to take him out when he tries to kill me. And now Flora's on the phone.
I was right about the deputy. The convoy's moving out right now. Come and meet me and we'll take care of them together.
So now for the final stage of this mission, we need to go and dispose of all the weapons that the police are moving to the UFLL. We don't want either of the factions to have their hands on these weapons, who formerly belonged to the APR effectively, so it's a good idea to take them out. So I'm going to head the short distance to where Flora is and give her a hand with the convoy once I've exfiltrated from the police station. I was disappointed, I must admit, but the thought that the latter 2/3 of my sentence were going to be dodged made the remaining time a little easier, at least at first. Plus, I thought the informant program might even keep me out of trouble and out of prison in the future. Pat assured me I would get serious money for it too, so in all I had much more to look forward to than my fellow inmates. I couldn't tell them anything about it as a result. They knew I was a person of interest for the police, but I told them it was because they thought I had information on my IRA comrades' whereabouts, and that they'd given up on me when I wouldn't say anything. I tried as hard as I could to keep everyone thinking that I was going to be a lifetime criminal who anyone would want helping on their job. I guess the reason it was so easy was that something inside me knew what the future had in store for me. Soon enough the day would come when they would stare open-mouthed at me being escorted out by the police. Was I going to be executed, being moved up to the hardcore wing, being taken to have information tortured out of me? I hope that's what they thought, as the thought of them knowing I was getting out makes me feel like I betrayed their faith in me. Not that it matters. It's weird to think that the guys who were locked up back then are probably still trapped there all these years later. I had a rollercoaster week ahead of me, but everything about it was better than prison. I had a flat to myself, paid for by the state. I was basically free, save for a parole officer monitoring me. At first all I had to do was help out around the police station, since I guess the big sting hadn't started yet. But soon enough it would start, and I would end up slap bang in the middle of it. So I'm now approaching the area where the convoy ambush was happening. In the distance I can hear small arms fire. I'm sprinting forwards because it seems the ambush has already begun. I can see a tree downed across the road, flashes of gunfire. I can't see any enemies and I'm too sick and tired to actually run in any faster. As I approach, I can see through the smoke that more gunfire is on the road, and suddenly the mission is completed. It seems that Flora on her own actually annihilated this entire convoy, several vehicles and their crew, and didn't actually need my help at all. So I guess that's a good thing since I showed up late. I don't actually see Flora at first, but then I spot her behind a tree on the side of the road. Not exactly an amazing position, but she used it to her full advantage, I guess, in managing to defeat the entire convoy. She seems a little bit apprehensive about the fact that she just did that, but still, the mission has been completed, everyone's still alive, and most importantly, the factions are the real losers in this mission. So that's all for now. The adventure will continue next time on Frank's Penance.